Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this July 16th, 2015 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and you're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Catch my show every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can also get it on several AM stations across the South and on selected shortwave radio stations. Okay, this is part 6 of In Search of the Great Ice Wall. Now, you're going to have to go back to some of my old shows to get the gist of what I'm doing, and I'm not going to spend much time recapping it today. So let's just put it into perspective. We're talking about the shape of the Earth, whether it is a circle in a plane, or whether you're going to believe the liars at NASA who tell you it's a globe. And we're at a point now where I'm getting a little tedious here, but I've debated whether I should put this on the air. But why not? I told you if you can use a sextant. Now, I don't know how many people even know what that is today. And that's including people who rely on GPS when they head out to navigate on the Pacific or the Atlantic. But if you use a sextant, one way to prove that the Earth is not a globe is to measure the distance of the sun with a sextant. And you'll come to the startling conclusion that it's about 3,100 miles away and about 40 miles in circumference. Now, there's another way to do this, and I'm going to put this on just to show you something, and you may get lost in the numbers. You're going to have to know a little bit about trigonometry to figure this out. But there are people that are doing it, and I've called upon this mathematician now to figure this out. And what he's doing is showing you that if you use trigonometry in the same manner using the globe that NASA provides, it will categorically prove that we cannot be living on a globe. Now, you're going to hear a lot of numbers, but the reason I'm doing it is to show you that if you actually are a mathematician and you work for NASA, how come you can't figure this out? Now, most people are going to believe the big guys over there because of all of their different calculations and the nonsense they've given you about the theory of relativity, even gravity, which makes absolutely no common sense. And basically their math makes no sense. But here's some math that it does. And the question I'm going to ask you, in the end, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the gentleman I'm going to present, who is basically telling you, based on the math, we can't be living on a globe. And I'm telling you that based on a sextant, we can't be. That's what we're going to deal with this segment. And I want to get back to some of the Circle Earth cosmology and religion and show you how the Vatican, how all of these connections, what we call the Old World Order, NASA, all of these organizations working to get together in most every area of your life, deceiving you in most every area of your life. So let's do this right now. And like I said, I'm showing you that you can use math to figure out where we live.
Hey everyone, Rasmus from Thrive and Survive, June 19th, 2015. We're going to start a new subject today. This will be part 3 in the Why Lie series. But we're going to finish off first with the last video that I did. I'm going to clear up some things there. You know, it's unbelievable to me that people cannot imagine in their mind that even with the curvature of the Earth, that something is desperately wrong with what we've been told. But since they can't think that way, I'm going to explain a few things here, and then we'll move on to the next subject.
And that's really what's amazing. What he just said is amazing because, I've talked on this subject for a while, and I find that people really, just because of what they heard in school, just because of what they heard from NASA, believe in this crazy theory. And that's crazier than if you believe in a circle Earth theory when it gets right down to it. And then you get into the religious aspect of this, and you'll find that people's belief systems get in the way again of getting to the truth of what we live on today.
We have here, thanks to Joe Schmo, now even more famous, for sending me this link. And to me, guys, this was a miracle. I went to the site yesterday. I was looking around, and it explains a bunch of different things. And it ended up being like 3 or 4 in the morning. I was like, man, I got to go to bed. So I closed my lid on my computer, and it turns off the light on it. And then in the morning, I opened it up. Now, I always open it up by grabbing the left side of my screen and pushing it up. And I do have a computer where the screen is active. So if I push a link with my finger on the screen, it is a touch screen. It will load a link. And here's what was amazing. I went back and looked at this because this opened up as soon as I opened up my lid to my computer. There was no link on the left side. So I don't know how this opened up from this site, but this gave me the answer I was looking for as I was thinking last night when I went to sleep. You see, you're never going to have, unless you happen to be down near the equator regions, you're never going to have the sun directly overhead as far as north, south, east, and west, okay? But there's a thing called the meridian line, and no matter where you are, once a day the sun crosses the meridian line over you. And what that means is, let's just say you're the observer down here, and the meridian line is this round line coming up here. And as the sun rises in the east and comes around, when it gets to this meridian line, the shadows on the ground will not be east or west any. There'll be no east or west shadow under things. It'll be the north-south shadow. There'll be a shadow to the south because you're not far enough south, the sun's south of you. But this is the high noon thing right here. So, Miami, I was able to get it to like 89.86 degrees overhead. You never do get 90 because you're too far above the Tropic of Cancer. Cancer. So anyway, this is the meridian, and what my thing is, what I'm trying to point out is at the meridian time, which is 12 noon, give or take 15 or 20 minutes. It really depends on where you are in the time zone, and I'm using the center part of the time zone in both cases here. When it is the spring or fall equinox, you're going to have equal day and night, so you will have 6 hours where the sun is getting up to this position, and then you'll be at the meridian, which is an imaginary line over your head when you're facing the celestial North Pole. You won't have any, if you hold something or look at a car or whatever, it won't have a shadow except to the south. There will be no east-west shadow, so you can't tell from that if you are facing east or west. You can tell if you notice where the south part of the shadow is. Face that shadow. Left is to your east, and right is to your west, and to your back is north. But then it takes another 6 hours for it to go all the way down and set on the other side of the horizon. All right, and the time is equal. So when you're 3 hour time zones away, the sun is down here if you head west. If you head east, it's down here, halfway between the horizon and up here. Since the Earth supposedly turns equally throughout the day, we don't have any acceleration or deceleration periods. This all works with the math. And I've got the math solved, and let's go there now. I think you're going to be quite surprised. Okay, I came to the site here, which gives you all kind of different kind of triangles and things like that. I kept trying to do an obtuse scaling triangle, but it just got too heavy into the math, and there was one thing I was always missing. It was either an angle or the height or the base or something I was missing, just one shy of being able to solve it. So there's another way from other examples I saw in here that reminded me actually from school how to do this stuff. Anyway, what I did was I took the base here, which is A, okay, which is 7,913 miles. I'll explain that in a minute. That's actually the diameter of the Earth at the equator, 7,913 miles, all right? And the hypotenuse, which is B here, all right, this is 5,996 miles, and you're going to see how I got that. That is going to be from the top of the, you'll see it, okay, top of the globe all the way down 45 degrees. Now this is 6 time zones away. This would be sunset while this is noon, okay? I'm doubling everything. What I showed yesterday was only a 3 hour time zone difference, which would be here on the triangle. But I wanted to make it easier and prove that we don't have a sun that's 93 million miles away. No way, no how. Okay, here's the formula for it. H equals the square root of b squared minus a squared over 4. theta equals tangent -1, 2h over a, and then s equals 1/2 ah. All right, so you math people know that. The height then is 4,505 miles. That's what I was looking at. I don't care what the, what else does it give you? The area. I don't care what the area is. So anyway, what I'm looking for is the height, which is this number right here, the height. How high is it? All right, so now I have all three sides of the triangle. Let's go to the next thing. Now, I don't know if anybody out there who knows math can do this. And by the way, the person that gave me a bunch of math, I tried to respond to you, but then I lost it. Google lost it for me again. I'll find it and get back to you. I appreciate what you wrote, but I have some things to write back about what you wrote.
Now, what I wanted to say was this might sound a little tedious to you, but it's very, very important. And the reason I'm playing this is to show you that someone without a hidden agenda, he has no monetary reason to want to prove the Earth is either a circle or a globe, is using simple trigonometry, using the figures given by NASA regarding the supposed globe, and showing that it makes absolutely no sense when it comes to time zones. And you'll be very surprised with this basically relative, for me this is complex math, but for those mathematicians, those people at NASA, this should be, kind of like learning how to spell cat. The point I'm getting at is, who are you going to believe when you take this simple, in their terms, math? Are you going to believe somebody that has no hidden agenda, that's trying to prove, when you look at the time zones and you look at this, you'll see that it makes no sense on what they tell you as far as the distances. And who are you going to believe? Someone who's doing a rudimentary, seemingly rudimentary math problem based on the fact that these are mathematicians. Or are you going to believe somebody at NASA who's got a hidden agenda and who gets billions of dollars a year? And we've shown on and and told you on many shows, these are many computer-generated images. And let me give you another example. Just listening to some of the news and the Weather Channel, where you get a lot of this propaganda, and now they're showing you pictures of Pluto, and they're very detailed. Now, my question to them is, if they can show you these, why can't we get detailed pictures of our Earth? They don't. We've used the same computer-generated image in the 70s, and the reason is, it's not a globe. And the reason that they're giving you these computer-generated images of Pluto is because that's exactly what they are. The hoax goes on. Let's get back to this.
In any case, imagine this is the Earth, and we were talking about the sun being at noon. 3 time zones over would be 45 degrees over on the Earth. Okay, and this is all from what science tells us. There are 12 time zones, and let me show you that, because people are going to get lost here. Okay, each one of the spokes in the wheel here represents 3 hours of time on the Earth. Okay, 12 noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m., midnight, 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., and then back to noon again. Do you see that? So each line is 3 hours difference. And that's what we were showing. That, can you see that at 6, this would be at noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m. A person standing on this part of the Earth would be seeing sunset on the spring equinox, assuming the sun is right over them. Okay, they're at the spring equinox. This is at the Tropic of Cancer. All right. At the same time, noon, right here, would be the sun directly overhead. All right. Now, I computed from this. What we were talking about in the last video is 3 time zones over. The sun would be 45 degrees in the sky. All right. But it works better at 90 degrees. All right. So that's what I did, because 90 degrees, because everybody was like, well, you're not taking the curvature of the Earth into effect. So when we get here, you're going to see I used all that. This is almost like if you flip this on the side, this is what they tell us the Earth is. It's an oblate spheroid. And we're going to cover that in another video. But in any case, I have computed that the angle from the sun overhead to a person standing 3 time zones away, which is roughly 3,113 miles. All right, I extended this red line beyond the circle just so you can see where I'm talking about. But right here in the middle of this circle, that from this blue line here on the top is 3,113 degrees. Now, the curvature of the Earth in that distance is 992 miles. And if you want to know how that's obtained, you take the miles times the miles, all right, times 8. All right, that gives you how many inches. Divided by 12, that will give you how many feet. Divided by 5,280, that will give you how many miles. So I have added 992 miles curvature to the figure that we're going to be looking at. So even that's involved here. Although I think the distance that Google Earth will say is between this point and this point already covers it at 3,113 miles, I added it anyway, and I added a lot of other stuff just to make it work, okay? So now again, I have the cheap version of the NASA software, so my circle isn't exactly right. It looks more like a little bit of an egg. But anyway, with this kind of triangle, you can figure out everything from that math site that I just showed you. All right. Now, with that being said, let's come over here. Actually, this whole video is going to be this. I don't want this to be that long. What I did was the diameter of the Earth is 7,913 miles at the circumference of the at the center of the Earth equator, and that bulges out some, not much from the rest. It's really very close. But I'm using all the larger figures just so there's no question. All right, I know up here it's not as wide, but I'm giving everything to you here. 7,913 miles is the whole distance across the diameter of the Earth here. The radius would be half of that, all right? In any case, so then we can start making some computations, knowing that B is 5,996 miles. How did I get that figure? From the North Pole to the equator, using the Earth's curvature, you get 5,996 miles. Okay? That's how much you would travel along the Earth to get there. So, we know what the distance is. If we take the North Pole down to here, to the equator, actually on the straight line, it would be 5,996. All right? Good enough? All right, now, how far is the sun above the Earth? Forget this little blue indentation for a second. I'll show you why that's here in a second. You take that same triangle and go through here, and then all you have to do is label it like this triangle is. This is the exact same triangle. It's just turned over this way. If I had the advanced software, I could rotate it 45 degrees and just put it out here and you would have seen. Okay, this here, right here, all right, this is called an isosceles triangle, all right? All 3 angles are the same. They're all 3 45-degree angles. That's what's so nice about this. And here we have an isosceles triangle, the exact same size, but now in the red, 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees, okay? 3 45 degrees. 1, 2, 3. All right, now, here's what I did. What I wanted to do was I wanted to see how far would the sun be from the observer here, even though it is 3 hours beyond noon. Now, you have to take the mirror image of this, all right? But it just made more sense for me to do it this way. But take the mirror image of this, or act like you're on the other side of the Earth looking down at this, and this will make sense. In any case, you take this right here, all right? This becomes H, which was here. All right. These B's, okay, now if you take this line in here, that's H, 4,505 miles. That's what I computed. But how do we get there? B, line B is 5,996 miles. The same as this B over here. It's the same side. It's just rotated to the right. 5,996 miles. This B here is 5,996 miles. So, how long is this red line down to this triangle inside the Earth? That is 4,505 miles. Okay, 4,505 miles. And I've added 992 miles curvature to the figure, and I've taken the fact that from here, I'm not even on the surface of the Earth. I'm taking it from slightly inside the Earth. The sun is 4,505 miles from the observer. If he was inside the Earth here, if he's on the surface, you have to subtract whatever this is. Folks, the people that say it's about 3,100 miles, that's going to be right. That's absolutely going to be correct. The observer up.
See, and what I said was when you look at do it with a sextant, you get them up with about the same distance. Now, what this guy is doing is using trigonometry, which is above me in a sense, and using NASA's own curvature of the Earth, as well as using time zones that we have established all over the world. It proves categorically the sun cannot be 93 billion miles away. Now, they know this. They have to know this. And their job is to confuse you with their math so that you never really even try to figure it out. This guy did, and I applaud him. Let's get back to his little presentation.
Here would see this, in his case, this would be 3 hours early. It's not to noon yet. It rotates up this way. So at 9 a.m., the distance to him is 5,996 miles. All right, now this is all assuming that it's a globe, and that's how the math works. Okay, you cannot have a 93 million mile away sun and have the speed of the Earth as it turns. You cannot have time zones that are 3 hours apart. All right, like this. Every one of these spokes is 3 hours apart. If it's 93 million miles away, okay, again, you would be less than 1 degree angle down here on the hypotenuse. So you would never see the sun's rays at angles. So everybody that said, well, you're not showing it on a global Earth, not only am I showing it, but I'm giving you everything. And I mean, I'm throwing in everything but the kitchen sink and coming up with 4,505 miles away from the observer. And this point right here is probably 900 miles inside the Earth. It's interesting. It's close to 992 miles difference here. But if you were standing right here, it's probably 3,000 miles to the sun. So you can prove it, guys. You can prove it by what science tells you. And the math, I mean, this did the math for me. All right? It used this formula and came up with the numbers. If you don't understand this, I'm not pulling a trick on you or anything like that. Talk to somebody who understands math. Please. They will tell you I'm not pulling any tricks on you. The math is correct.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. His math, you take his advice. His video, you can go get. It's called The Final Nail in the Coffin, Why Lie, Sun Distance. Go to somebody. Go to your math teacher. Ask to do the same thing. And see what they say. That's all I'm saying. But my idea of what NASA is doing, they're confusing you with their theories of relativity, gravity, and all these complex math that makes no sense when you get right down to it. We'll be back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. I don't want you to forget that. And we're in search of the Great Ice Wall. And go back to my shows. This is part 6. I don't have time today to recap it. I could spend the whole show just recapping what I did yesterday and never take a step forward. So I don't want to fall into that old radio problem where you take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back and you're constantly saying the same thing every day. But anyway, I'm going to say something right now. We do not live according to a sextant and according to modern trigonometry that is being covered up by NASA. And basically, people just have it ingrained in their mind. They don't even bother to check it out. But the time zones on a globe Earth that we have do not make sense regarding the distance of the sun, and this man's proved it and shows that the sextant as well as trigonometry show you that the sun is about 3,100 miles away. Okay, now we are not discussing anything more than the shape of this Earth. I don't want to get into, all these suppositions about what is above, what is below, what are on the sides. The shape is, according to a sextant and trigonometry, not a globe. So, if it's a circle, what's on the sides? We went over things yesterday where explorers back in the 17 and 1800s traveled around this great ice wall for 60,000 miles, could never find a way in, about 100 or 200 foot high ice wall. And beyond that ice wall was a great plain. Now, what is interesting is that the Antarctic Treaty that we're into right now, in 1959 when Admiral Byrd went down there, was established by 64 countries, so we can't get into the South Pole, and the reason is the South Pole does not exist as they tell us. And it is my contention that the North Pole lies in the center of this plane, and we are the center of the universe. The sun and the moon and the stars revolve around us. And people say, well, why would NASA do that? I was talking to someone in my family, and that was their first question. And I said, well, it gets deeper than that. You have to really understand a lot of the things that we've done on the show over the years, starting out with ancient civilizations, the basic rise of secret societies, the sun worshippers, the Satanists that still live today. And then you begin to get the picture of how they orchestrate wars, how they orchestrate religions, and all of this crazy stuff, which sounds crazy to you, but is true. And their final deception is even to the point where they don't even want you to know what you live on. And yesterday's a good show because I connected a lot of the dots in this. And I think if you go back and start researching secret societies, you start researching all these signs and symbols, and that this old world order still exists today using modern technology as the great deception. That's why it's become such a great deception, even to the point where you won't even test their suppositions and their bad math, their bad science regarding the shape of the place you live on. Now we're going to talk a little bit, go back to what I was doing the other day, and get back to flat earth cosmology and religion, which might be an interesting subject. Let's go to that right now. Why don't we? Once we get this rolling, we will go to that. And all roads still lead back to Rome, whose road came from ancient Egyptian times. Remember that.
So he was the Most High at 12 noon. And so Horus walks across his 12 steps. So we say the same thing today. Same thing. We have 12 Horuses. But instead of H-O-R-U-S, we make it H-O-U-R-S. Becomes hours, changing the U and the R. Now it becomes 12 hours. No, it's 12 Horuses. And Horus represents light. The sun represents light. Light in Latin is Lucius. Lucius, when personified as a god, becomes Luke. And this is why I have Luke Skywalker. And he walks across the sky and meets his evil brother, Darth Vader, or in the Egyptian religion, Set. He was the god of darkness. The prince of darkness was Set. Why? Because it got dark at sunset. So the whole idea is that it's the whole world that we live in is based on Egypt, Mesopotamia, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. All of the stuff that we live in this world is based on ancient religions and cults and secret societies and Masonic orders, and the people of this world have no idea in the world what's going on. I've spent 48 years studying occultism, mysticism, words, terms, legal terms, government, international banking, theology, religions. I'm telling you, there's a world of knowledge you have never been told. That's been right there for you, but it just never occurred to anyone to sit down for 48 years and study this stuff.
Okay, I'm just going to break in here. And what I'm getting at is just go back to some of my shows to exemplify what he is saying is true. When I explain to you ISIS and where that word comes from and why they're using it to bring on their war of terror, let's go back and listen.
In the dark. I mean, I have a high respect for all religions, for all belief systems. But I'm telling you, it needs to be based on wisdom and knowledge. Let me give you an example in the Old Testament.
A creation story.
The following segment comes principally from the work of Dinesh at musicoftheancientsblogspot.com. Quote, "The Bible is a complete Masonic work compiled of Jewish, Egyptian, and Eastern mysticism. The words of Jesus come from the ancient oracle scrolls of Egypt. All the characters are archetypes of the human psyche and nothing more."
Now, what we're going to do here is listen to another angle to what the Bible is. Now, I don't particularly agree, but I'm not afraid to listen to what other people are thinking. So don't, all you Bible believers, don't get up in arms. Just listen for a change. We're not trying to, basically, if your faith is strong, it wouldn't matter. And God says, test all things. And he included the Bible, I think. And so to test it and to listen to what other people have done is important. My conclusion is different. But I have always came to this conclusion based on what these people maybe be saying. I don't know exactly what he's going to say. And a lot of times, I don't screen things like this because I want to listen to everything. Let's listen.
Horus, the virgin-born redeemer of the Egyptians, came into the world to destroy the enemies of the great god Ra. Therefore Horus changed himself into the form of the winged sun disk and took with him the female goddess Nekabet and Uatitchit in the form of two serpents. Here we see the 7 sacred planets around 2 pyramids, one inverted. Pyramid meets fire in the middle. The triangles represent the as is above, so is below teaching of the ancients. The serpent, or Ouroboros, represents the shedding of skin, or rebirth, in the infinite cycle or circle of creation. After their successful war upon the enemies of Ra, Horus commanded Thoth, the god of secret wisdom, that the winged sun disk with the erect serpents should be brought into every sanctuary of all the gods of the lands of the south and the north. It should be noted that some of the earliest Christians, called the Ophites, actually worshipped the serpent. In the New Testament, Jesus says, quote, "Be wise as serpents," end quote. And of course, Moses raised up the brazen serpent. The reason being is that the serpent draws on a very interesting analogy with its habitudes of life. Its rebirth through the shedding of skin, the spiral coiled shape which is often depicted as 7 coils culminating to its head, which depicts the creative life force. To this day, we still see the powers in control of our world use these images to have effect on our psyche or soul. The dark force that creates the illusion of its power is ultimately a reflection of our collective psyche, end quote. All of the creation stories of the world speaks of this group who hides the sacred teachings from the world. It is the story of Osiris being cut up into the 14 pieces scattered across the Nile. Isis finds all the pieces except the penis, which she replaces with a gold member. This is the true meaning of the cry of Isis or crisis, and why most religions, especially Roman Catholic Christianity, are principally sun worshippers.
Now, I'm not going to argue one point about that. Okay, I would not argue that. And I've talked to you about the Isis being represented and worshipped by the obelisks in Washington. I'm just mentioning 3 of many, the major ones in Washington, D.C., which is the Washington Monument, the obelisk in St. Peter's Square, and the obelisk in London. So, what we're looking at here is a bit of ancient history, where it comes from, what these people worship. Now, the question I have become is this: I believe that you have to look at it from both angles. And the next one is, these myths were based on the true creator. And what they're doing is using God and the story of Christianity, the true story, as a cover. When in fact, they're basically sun worshippers, including the Pope, who's coming here in September. Okay? Images rule the mind of all, not words nor laws. Remember that statement. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Guess who said that? Albert Einstein. And he had a great imagination. Leonardo da Vinci said there are 3 classes of people: those who see when they are shown, and those who do not see.
The creation story, or myth of the solar deities, seeks to keep the human soul decapitated forever. This is Lucifer's, the fallen light angel's, purpose on earth. Quote, "When a newborn male baby is circumcised, it causes the vulnerable, sensitive human infant's soul to depart from the body, allowing another, less sensitive, tough energy to step in, one that can handle the incredible assault to its nervous system and physical and spiritual integrity. Circumcision is a satanic-based ritual. It is a form of trauma-based mind control and central to the hidden occult practices to keep all in servitude. This is why the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill has an unfinished or circumcised cap with an eye for an eye to all that can see behind deception and the programming. The penis and vagina are the most central themes laid out in the occult architecture representing creation. The central power structures of the world erected literally and metaphysically, obelisks at the center of their power bases. The female principle is called the Yoni and shown in sacred geometry as the Vesica Pisces. This quote is from John Yarker of the Arcane Schools. Quote, "The Vesica Pisces, 2 interlinked circles, is also known as the Yoni. The name Yoni refers to the middle portion of the interlocking circles, is derived from the Sanskrit meaning divine passage. That the Yoni is the feminine, the Yoni should be viewed such that the divine passage becomes a correlation to sex or male-female union. It is this correlation and its relation to rebirth and regeneration that remains a basic truth at the very core of occult's structural foundations, end quote. We also see these images in early Christian religion, and is where the Pisces fish, the astrological sign, also comes from. All throughout the major power centers of the world, we see the obelisk penetrating the Vesica Pisces, or Yoni. This is not by accident, but by serious intention of design, planning, and building of hundreds of years of architecture that still applies to us today as symbolic imagery of the hidden forces over all of humanity. The Vatican, the City of London, and Washington, District of Columbia are all individual city-states beholden to no country. Each has its own constitution, mayor, bank, post office, and CEO of the corporation. The current president of the all-caps United States of America is Barack Obama. Please look up the Organic Act of 1871 to understand how this came to be. Also, look up the definition of what exactly the District of Columbia is and what it is named after. All roads still lead back across the pond to the City of London, back to Rome in modern times. Is it any wonder why males are still obsessed with their phallic symbolism of male superiority to this day? When we look out into the cosmos, the universe, we are actually looking at a reflection of the vastness of our own being, from which we are not separate. The genius that has made the brilliance of all the cosmos and nature is the same intelligence that operates within us, however dormant or unrecognized it may be.
Now, you see what I'm getting at here is that I proposed, well, a number of people are proposing, and I'm saying that there are a lot of people out there who are not going to listen to the story that the Earth is not a globe. Now, the point I'm bringing up regarding spirituality and religion is that you have to listen to all sides. You have to listen to everything, test everything it said, and choose what is good. So don't be afraid of things that may come contrary to your belief system. Not with the intention to change them, because only you can do that, but with the intention of testing it.
Again, this is from Dash at the Music of the Ancients, blogspot.com. The sun is the electric conscious impregnator of nature, the moon magnetic subconscious. At nighttime, when the moon is ruling, it is our subconscious that takes over, projecting itself in our dream state. This is the story has been told with many different symbols and languages. The world is the word, and the word is vibration. In fact, the word world is derived from WHIRLED, world, implying a circular spinning motion. By becoming in sync with the rhythms, patterns, and frequencies of the natural world, we vibrationally entrain ourselves to the great architect or the great chemist of nature.
Well, let's look at what Tesla said. He said, and we all understand what Tesla was all about, don't we? Alpha waves in the human brain are between 6 and 8 hertz. The wave frequency of the human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 hertz. All biological systems operate in the same frequency range. The human brain's alpha waves function in this range, and the electrical resonance of the Earth is between 6 and 8 hertz. Thus, our entire biological system, the brain and the Earth itself, work on the same frequencies. If we can control that resonant system electronically, we can directly control the entire mental system of humankind. Remember when we were doing stories about how HARP and how these mind control systems are working and how they use electromagnetic weaponry to break up and to change this natural frequency between the earth and man?
This is the true foundation of perfect health, to be in perfect resonance and alignment with nature. The clearer and more conductive our body or instrument is, results in the synchronization of our subjective, spiritual mind with the objective, scientific, or analytical mind. To ignore either one of these two aspects of self is to create imbalance. Everything in nature, living and non-living, has natural resonant frequencies.
So, if they can control the resonant frequencies and change them in our bodies, they can make us ill. And like I said, many people don't even get good night's sleep anymore. The best way to get a good night's sleep is make sure that something in your body is touching the earth. Ground yourself, they say. Does that make sense to you now?
There is a biological and a harmonic connection between our biological pulsating frequency and that of Earth. The inherent frequency of the Earth is 7.8 hertz. Earth resonates with a frequency similar to a person's brain waves. This frequency has been shown in scientific studies to be an essential requirement for the physical and psychological health. The dominant brainwave frequency of sensitivities such as shamans and healers comes close to 7.83 hertz and may at times beat in phase with the Earth's signals, thereby causing harmonic resonance. Naturally, our bodies are crystalline batteries capable of conducting powerful electromagnetic forces. To resuscitate a heart, doctors use an electromagnetic device called a defibrillator to re-jump or bring back to life the heart. This is the rejoining of the male-female sun-moon forces inherent in us all. Both humans and Earth are 72% salt, as well as being some 2/3 water. The anagram for heart is Earth. This cannot be by coincidence.
What did they say in the Bible? In Matthew, I think they said, "You are the salt of the earth."
We are part of nature, not apart from nature, as the occultists wish us to think and believe.
Quite interesting stuff. Let's look at the lucky sevens.
The number 7 plays prominently in sacred geometry, as well as in the vibrations of music as it relates to Pythagoras' music of the spheres, energy of the stars, and physical human form. There are 7 sacred planets, 7 major levels of the chakra, 7 days of the week, 7 notes of an octave on a piano, and the 7 primary colors of the rainbow relating back to the 7 sacred planets.
Well, as we look at this, we have to keep an open mind as far as what our ancients were talking about. Now, I subscribe to the fact we are not a planet. But anyway, it's good to listen.
There is also 7 unions of the 2 coiled serpents with solar wings, as emblazoned in the logo of the caduceus staff used by Western medicine. We see these 2 entwined serpents representing our DNA coiling up through the 7 chakras, or major energy centers of the body. The knowledge sought by the ancients, like Pythagoras and Isaac Newton, who were known alchemists and Freemasons, was their intention to blend matter, or mata, which means earth, to reach spirit. Gold and light were 2 of the physical properties available to them. They sought to understand the transcendence of matter into light as depicted in Jesus Christ's allegory of ascension, or apotheosis, into the rainbow heaven at the right hand of God. Paganism imagery lives throughout depictions of Christ. His thorny crown representing the sun's rays, the halo, the Son of God. The 4 cardinal points, the 4 seasons, all represented in his image on the cross. The allegory of the crucifixion itself is an attempt to prevent the unification of form and consciousness to attain enlightenment through the power of mind. Not so coincidentally, government literally means mind control. It is control of the mind the occult forces are after.
Well, let's look at that. The word government, derived from the Latin verb governare, meaning to control, and Latin noun mens, mentis, meaning mind, to control the mind.
The Vatican is a sun cult for anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear.
And we've discussed this many, many times on the show, almost to the point where
they are even as so brazen as to hold their religion on a sun day. We can see from many images the rainbow bridge as to ascension to enlightenment, depicted in Christianity as well as in many other religions, including sun cult worshippers. It is the way to higher consciousness, we are being shown and told. Even on the United States Capitol's inner dome, we see where George Washington was depicted by the architects in the 1800s on his ascension or apotheosis using the rainbow bridge to heaven above. Note he is purposely placed at noon on the sundial. Washington was also a Freemason, as were many of the founding fathers. The 7 primary colors surround the central white light in the seat of life in sacred geometry. The seed of life precedes the tree of life and recedes the egg of life, whose geometrical forms can be seen throughout all of creation. Sacred geometry is also portrayed in the ancient Jewish Kabbalah tree of life. The Kabbalah represents a systematic overview of how existence functions on every level, from the microcosmic to the macrocosmic. Kabbalah is a science, a philosophy, an art, and a religion, but is universal and applies to all religions, all sciences, all philosophies, and all arts. Kabbalah provides an understanding of how the human being fits into nature and how nature functions from the lowest, most dense levels all the way up to the most profound. Through this knowledge, a person comes to know where they are now in the scale of the universe and how to traverse those levels and reach a better station in life.
Okay, let's break it off there because we're running out of time. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow with part 7 of In Search of That Great Ice Wall, which I might add entails a lot more than just the physical barriers surrounding this world we live in, and really what it's all about here. I mean, I'm talking about whether we live on a globe or whether it is a circle and a plane. And from that, it gets into what we've talked about for 10 years on the show, back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.